So does John Kramer have a twin brother that died in his place and he's still alive somewhere? Today we're going to talk about it. But the answer is no. The short answer is very much no. Please don't do that whatsoever. Hey YouTubers, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. Enjoy the video. Okay guys, all joking aside, today we're going to be talking about John Jigsaw Kramer and Tobin Bell's character respectively from the Saw franchise. Obviously I cover this on my channel quite frequently, but look, I've gotten this comment probably more than any other comment in the plethora of comments I get from people asking me to cover topics or asking me whether I believe that this is true or this is true. You know, there's just a wide variety of things to talk about when it comes to this franchise, and unfortunately, I'm one of the only people actually talking about it in any real way. So I really do appreciate anyone who comes back for these discussions and really genuinely wants to hear my thoughts on them. There's not a whole lot to talk about in any given point, especially when you have to talk about it alone, but I just knowing that there's an audience out there, knowing that you guys are out there wanting to listen to this stuff, and it's uplifting. It keeps me actually making it. So the question is whether or not John has a twin brother, or he originally died in Saw 3 and Saw 4, and now his twin brother can take up the mantle, and we can actually have Tobin Bell come back in, be alive in the main timeline, and just be playing a different person other than John Kramer. Or his twin brother died in his place in Saw 3 and 4, and somehow John Kramer just completely faked his death and fooled everyone into thinking he had brain cancer and stayed dormant for 10 years. Look, I think one of the things that's great about the Saw community is that we try to be smarter. We try to think about really interesting ideas and situations that really bring up some interesting plot twists and plot points that could be developed or explored in other movies. In fact, back in the whole House of Jigsaw days, there was this running fan theory, and it never really caught with me, and I don't understand why so many people loved it so much. Was, John did die in Saw 3 and 4, but he was methodically collecting body parts with the whole cutting out the jigsaw piece, and also having it so that William actually got his legs cut in half with the acid that ran through his body so he could actually have a pair of legs and all this other stuff. I mean, look, I'm all for like crazy fan theories, but that one's a little too ridiculous. And for me too, the twin brother aspect is also really ridiculous, primarily because I think the driving force of my fandom with the Saw franchise is the fact that, unlike any other long-running horror franchise, it still has its dignity. It's still, even though it's trying to tell crazy stories, it's still trying to keep it grounded in the world that it's built for itself. People like John and Amanda and Hoffman and all the other people that we've come to know and love from this series are realistic characters in the world that they built from the very first installment, and I think that this would be a little too much. I think that this would be really stretching the boundaries to the point where you break the illusion of what John actually is and how much of a methodical, scary, godlike figure he is in this world. It only works because he is who he is. If he's literally been deceiving everyone for these last couple of years, this decade, and is simply out there to cause fear and to build up this sick, twisted torture game and scare everyone in the community, I mean, that's one way to go with it, but I always thought it was way more compelling in Saw 2, where they were talking about how do you become immortal, especially when you have cancer. What's the cure for cancer? It's immortality. And how do you get immortal? You build a legacy that actually lives on past you. And the fact that, at this point, with the last film, Jigsaw, we are a decade out from John actually dying. More so if you actually think about it logically. It's weird that they kept saying a decade or 10 years the entire time, when logically it's probably 11 or 12 if you really want to break it down, but we're not going to go there in this video. He created a legacy that was going to persist beyond him, regardless of whether Amanda was the one who was going to continue it, or Hoffman, or maybe even Logan or Dr. Gordon. I mean, who knows how far this stretches or how far it's gone since he's dead. And it's one of the best things that keeps people coming back to all the theaters, every single installment. You know, the idea that I think drove people to the theaters with Jigsaw, whether you can argue there was not that much fan excitement or people were intrigued just very lightly and now they're not going to be intrigued for a ninth film, is beyond the point. The idea that this guy's been dead since the third and or fourth movie, whenever you really want to place that in the timeline, how are they going to bring him back? We all know that he's the face of the franchise. They can't get rid of him. How are they going to bring him back? How does he know what people would be doing a decade away? I need to understand this. And that was the rule that we went into Jigsaw with, is John is not alive. He can't be alive. And when Tobin Bell shows up for his scene, his major scene in that movie, it's kind of shocking. I mean, obviously you might have already guessed at that point what the twist is. I mean, they kind of gave it to us pretty reluctantly, but had to give it to us in that movie in order to kind of keep it compelling. But when he shows up, if you don't know what's going on, you're like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? But then they kind of reel it back, make it make more sense to the timeline, the world that they're building, and give us John the way we always knew him. Not a godlike creature. He's not Jason. He's not Freddy or Michael or anything else like that. This guy is flesh and blood. He's just smarter than everyone else. And he is the person who's going to persist. Not because he's some entity that just simply can't die. He's not the boogeyman. He is just a person. He's a person who wanted to build and built something worth keeping around for people. And I think that is the most compelling thing and one of the reasons I love this franchise so much. So, no, I do not think, and I don't want them to actually go down the twin brother route, because I think it takes a lot away from the original 7 films, even if they have a fantastic story for it. So, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Do you like the idea of John actually having a twin brother, whether his twin brother died in his place or the twin brother is going to take up his legacy, and that's why we're going to have Tobin Bell in the present day? As I've already talked about in my various videos, my pitch for Saw 9 would really be, or any just other Saw, as long as you're going to have Tobin Bell, just rip off. I don't say rip off in terms of you have to rip off, but just rip off the whole Dark Passenger thing with this the Dexter franchise. I love Dexter, and I think the concept of them talking to something that actually isn't there. I mean, heck, Mr. Brooks did it, and that's a fantastic movie. If you haven't seen Mr. Brooks, go see Mr. Brooks. I don't know what you're waiting for. So, guys, I hope everyone has had a fantastic day. Hope you enjoyed this discussion video. Like I said, probably the most persistent question of every single Saw video I do. Someone wants to talk about John having a twin brother somewhere, and that's how they're going to come back. I just don't. I don't buy it. And I don't want them to do it, because I think it robs the series of one of its biggest selling points, or one of its emotional cores, or just world building that it's done throughout 8 films. So I hope everyone will like, comment, subscribe, share this video out to all your friends. If you want to talk about the Saw franchise, if you want to just gab about, fanboy it out like we used to do on House of Jigsaw, or, now that we can't do that anymore because that forum's down. But if you want to do that, then go to that link that's on the screen now. It's also in the description section below. Please make sure to go follow me on Twitter. Way more likely to respond and have a genuine conversation over there, outside of just the comment section in this video. But I will be reading the comments and responding to those that I really feel like need responses, and liking and everything. So guys, hope everyone is having a good day. Like I keep saying, it's been real.